Hey there, LEGO fans. Welcome back to an extra special review. This is the LEGO Lord of the Rings The Shire 2025 edition, coming in at 2,017 pieces with 9 minifigures, retailing for $270. This set is not only a gorgeous model, but a major discussion point in the LEGO community, especially around that price and the value of this set. Not only is it like the Galaxy Explorer in that the set grew up just like you did over the years with new build techniques, new recolors, and awesome minifigures, but we have to be more critical about the real value in this set. So let's jump right in and take a look. 10354 has a bunch of side builds. Of course, we have the main Hobbit hole that we will get to in just a moment, but we're going to start off with this little birthday cake build. It uses some pretty simple and standard LEGO pieces we've seen before, but there's some studs for Hobbits to hang around that table. I love the little frosting decoration. That's an excellent piece introduced in the LEGO Friends lineup of sets. And of course, you might be wondering, why is there birthday cake? Well, we are going to be celebrating the 111th birthday of Bilbo Baggins in this set. So there's an element of storytelling, and it's not just a detailed display model. Gandalf's horse and buggy are next, or his fireworks cart, I should say. It has plenty of new elements mixed in with classic ones like the horse piece in dark orange and the various base elements that you need to create a medieval wagon. However, there are some candlesticks in tan, some newer jumpers, as well as the 1x5 plate to allow you to have just enough space this time to properly sit down Gandalf with the skirt element printed just like in Rivendell. And we also have the seated option for the hobbits. So now you can have Frodo or Bilbo sit down next to Gandalf and begin their adventure. The backside of the cart continues those patterns of using new and classic elements. There's also this basket with some fireworks. We have a blue one, a red one, as well as a gold and dark red. And that crate can just come in and out so you can hide whatever kind of cargo you want back there. This next build really impressed me. The designers introduced a new cloth piece for this tent. It's using the same fabric that we've seen before, but this is an extra special cutout and print on this cloth for this amazing detailing. And if we look at the underside of this, you can see some really impressive technique and bar and clip techniques to create that propped up middle of the tent. Now, it's not a super tall build, but hobbits can comfortably go underneath. It's perfect for their height. Obviously, it makes sense because we're in the Shire. And then there's another 8x8 plate here with a mini build of the fireworks dragon using some cool flippers in red. Really simple but creative build technique. And this is the perfect segue into the final side build, which is the Happy Birthday Bilbo sign, stage, tree, and firework. Now, LEGO Ninjago fans will immediately recognize some of those wing elements used in some of the Fire Dragon sets. Some great trans orange pieces for the face, and I do really enjoy how they built this. There's a see-through pole, of course, and it leads down to one of the more controversial parts of this set, and that is the tree designs. This one is probably the worst out of all the plant builds we'll see. It's not great. It uses just some basic building techniques. They, for whatever reason, decided to go with 1x2 plates in black. I don't know why they wanted to go that route because it really is jarring. We do have some nice lights at the bottom, but the designers mostly focus their attention on this play feature, which for an 18+ set, I don't mind, but it does seem to take away from other builds that we could have gotten in this set, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But I do love this other fabric element saying happy birthday to Bilbo, and then there are some barrels here. And then we can place Bilbo on those jumpers, and there's a big gear on the backside of the tree build, and so you can spin it and he makes his exit. Overall, really cute build and play feature if this was a playset, but again, we have to keep in mind it's a display model. There's also that tree, which I feel like the entire build maybe could have just been combined with the birthday cake section, or this could have been a great side build or smaller set even. But let's move on to that part that you've all been waiting for. Finally, we've made it to the main build itself. The Hobbit hole, the Shire, whatever you'd like to call it, LEGO has definitely expanded their parts roster to really improve this model. Now, the original Hobbit hole was a fantastic set, and in my opinion, the original would probably go up from this section all the way to this end. So there is a whole nother maybe 15 studs length added to this. It's much more of a in-depth set in terms of the landscaping in the front. You'll see on the interior, though, that is not the case. But we do want to focus on some positives here. Like the tree, I think, is really good at the top. It's meant to be in a forced perspective, so the tree is much bigger in the actual film and in the landscaping. You can fit a little build or character to sit right down there and read a book. But starting on the right-hand side, we have a curved window frame. It does introduce this new green window frame element on the inside that creates that extra special Shire circular window. There's some newer elements like the green slopes And then there's some brand new pieces that just weren't around at the time, like this green slope from the Bumblebee Lego set. Plenty of green in this set, a little chimney, some Wolverine claws, and different plant pieces we've seen before. But overall, it makes it feel lived in, and I think the landscaping is really well done. One of my favorite builds in this set is the sunflowers, an excellent use of some newer botanical pieces. We have the fence that is made out of boomerangs. Those are fantastic. You can adjust those pretty easily. And then we have one of our stickers in this set that says no admittance except on party business, right attached to this awesome mailbox build. And although the mailbox build is great, I do feel like the spacing was a little bit off here. You can see that the sign doesn't really touch the boomerangs or the fence on the right-hand side, but that's a minute detail or nitpick. It, of course, does open and close. Focusing on positives, we have some more great plants like the pumpkins, cabbages, smaller plants, and then this large window build, which the windows were a lot of fun to create, and those angles on the left and right-hand sides. But going back to the center of the build, we have a better look at those arches and the quarter tiles in the center. The door is all brick built this time. It's not just the large disc element. There's no symbol from Gandalf for a Hobbit reference, but we trade that detail for an awesome gold microphone as the doorknob. There's also a bench for Bilbo, Gandalf, or Frodo to sit and chill. But if we turn our attention to the back side of the build, you can see that some of that landscaping detail just stops. Although it is a really nice interior, we are getting the same layout that we've seen in the first 2013 Lego Hobbit hole. And that to me is a little disappointing. For it being not only an 18+ set, a larger model with all the advancements and pieces and just the size of the other builds we've gotten in the past. Yes, they're different price points, but how are we only getting the same rooms represented? They are really well done though. On this side, we do have Bilbo's study. It has the book, which is a newer recolor of the book elements in red, but the cover is unfortunately a sticker. This part here is a little bit hard to access, but we can open up this book and see on the inside it has there and back again as another sticker for the paper. There's the deed of contract for a nice little reference to the Hobbit fans there, and I certainly appreciate all the little references and mini builds, including the candles, which are made out of pen elements in white. Really smart for the melted candle wax. However, this section isn't without its flaws, and you can see that in the form of the wall in the back. Behind the post, there are some exposed bars and clips, which I think really take you out of this lived in and filled out look. Same with in front of the curved or angled wall with the window. That could have had some accessories, some flowers, maybe some shelves with extra writing materials. I think that was a huge miss. At least we do get some detailing on the right-hand side wall with the sticker of the tree and some more of those printed elements for the furnace. However, there is another big issue with this section, and that is accessibility. There is no way or room for figures to walk from the entranceway over to the study. You have those accessories on this wall, and sure, those look great. I do love them, but there's no room. It's like if Rivendell had no access from the top balcony down to the base. And that, I feel like, is a huge miss. This set should have been more filled out. This does lead us into a more positive section. With the opening door and foyer, we have Indiana Jones ropes, new printed tiles for the carpet, which look fantastic. Nice job to the graphic designer. A wardrobe or coat rack, which doesn't do anything or hold anything. You could put capes on there. Then on the right-hand side, we have a treasure chest, a mug, and a little stopwatch. Inside the chest are some nice references to The Hobbit and, of course, Lord of the Rings, because they do show that in the build. We have Mithril, which is a sticker, same piece we've seen in the other Lord of the Rings sets, which is kind of interesting. A gold bar from the Lonely Mountain, and inside there are some silverware elements that could either be from the Hobbit films, from the Lonely Mountain, or they are the ones that the cousins try to steal. We have a candelabra here, and it leads into an actual accessible second room, which is the dining room. So here you can see there's actually a path. I don't know why they did it on here, but we do have some nice detailing. However, this leads us to, again, the other thing I brought up earlier with where's the rest of the Hobbit hole? There should be a whole nother section. A dining room, of course, is important to these scenes, but where is the pantry? But if we go back and take a closer look here, there are some really nice wins. Some printed elements for the carpet, some shulkin boxes for chair legs and newer elements there, a sticker to the Lonely Mountain, and one of my favorite part usages in this set, an unprinted hedgehog from Lego Friends used as a large pine cone to be in the same scale as the Hobbits. There's a flower pot on this corner, tucked away, but not on the left left-hand side. So it's nice they thought of it on the right-hand side of that build where we have another angled window. Above the fireplace, we do have portraits. Those are stickers of Bilbo's relatives, one of which is a male hobbit, and that is supposed to be based on Peter Jackson in the films. So if you go back and look at that portrait, you'll see that detail. There's a cheese wedge, which is awesome, and then the play feature here is unnecessary in my opinion. Of course, it adds maybe a little more value. It recreates the scene where Gandalf throws the envelope into the fire and then picks up the ring and shows it to Frodo, exclaiming that it is perfectly safe, and then he starts his adventure. So really nice there. Love the graphic design work on the stickers and on the prints in this build. And although the rooms that they chose are really detailed and fleshed out, I think, again, Hobbit and Lord of the Rings fans, you know that we're missing some key details. Not only is there the issue of accessibility, and also the landscaping and detailing just kind of ends on the roof there. You get one branch, but how are the figures supposed to navigate? Where is the pantry? Maybe even Bilbo's bedroom? Things like that should have been featured in this ultimate version of the Shire, and that is a really big miss. The biggest issue in this set, though, for me, and I know I've said the good and the bad, is this left-hand wall. It curves around and then just stops, and you have an exposed wall here where the designer didn't even bother to cover up the green. I have no idea what they were thinking with this. There's a random stud and jumper just available up there. Don't get that at all. I don't get it. Of course, you need the bottom part here, the built-up hill, so you can fit the play feature. There is just enough space, and I think some wiggle room that a light brick could have added more ambiance. So you have the light brick and the play feature, and that could be shown through the large window there. There is just some little critiques and design decisions that I kind of question. There's this removable roof section for more accessibility, but already this build is pretty wide and open. So another questionable thing, you don't get that removable roof on any of the other sections. Now, in my opinion, that wall section is probably the biggest issue besides the price with this model. But if you're looking for the biggest win, the thing that I would advocate buying this set for, it's the 9 minifigures. Every single figure has something new about them, whether it be a new torso print, face print, recolor. It looks like an incredible lineup here when you see them all together. So let's take a look at the figures. Frodo and Bilbo both have brand new face prints which look fantastic, as well as really detailed and new torso prints that I think came out excellent. The graphic designer, again, knocked it out of the park. Frodo has some brand new dual molded dark blue and tan hobbit feet, and then Bilbo shares the same hairpiece mold as his Rivendell counterpart. However, this one is in gray as he's not as aged as he was in Rivendell. Both have alternative expressions which look fantastic. Frodo's happy face is one of my favorite Lego face prints they have ever made. Then we have Samwise Gamgee, who shares the same head and hair as his other counterparts in previous sets. The torso print is new for him, but Merry and Pippin are some of my favorite figures. Not only do they have new face prints for their blown up expressions when they launch the firework, they also have new torso prints, and their hair is recolored in that gray, spiked up, exploded look. And those look fantastic. Their face prints on the other side, their happy looks, are actually just the reused ones from Rivendell, which was a really neat observation. But both look excellent. Then we have Rosie, who shares Frodo's dual molded dark blue and tan legs, a Minnie Mouse skirt in dark blue, a brand new torso print and face print with the alternative expression reminding me of the 2012 Hermione figure. Next up is the Proudfoot couple, and they both share reuses of face prints we've seen before. However, they capture the likeness and the stern looks very well. Both have brand new torso prints. Mrs. Proudfoot even introduces a brand new skirt piece, and Jane's hair from Peter Pan in the dark brown. And then finally, we have Gandalf the Grey, who is the exact same figure we've seen in Rivendell, except for the face print. You do get the seated options like in the other Lord of the Rings set, and then his face print looks fantastic, in my opinion. It's a little more stern. It kind of reminds me of Count Dooku, but altogether, these figures are the shining examples of why I would pick up this set, or why I would recommend it to a LEGO fan or Lord of the Rings fan. So what do you guys think of the Hobbit whole LEGO set? Overall, this was a fun build. It's a very colorful build. It has a bunch of detailing, but as a consumer, as someone who wants to give you his honest opinion, isn't sponsored by LEGO to share my thoughts about this set, I can honestly say that the price is definitely something to really double check or reconsider when you're going to buy this one. Obviously, if you're a big LEGO Lord of the Rings fan, you're going to want this set regardless of what I say. And for that, I would say get it with the gift with purchase. Get it with double VIP points or insider's points. Because that is when you're going to get the most value out of this model. There are great figures which I definitely think add value to this build. Obviously, we've seen some recolors, some amazing new prints. some of those great cloth elements, which I think really add a lot of the value to this model, but you're missing a good chunk of elements for the price to piece ratio, if that's something that's really important to you, which I do factor it into my purchasing decisions. But again, leave your thoughts below. Do you think 200 would have been better? 270 is a bit much, and maybe 230, 250 is just right. We'll see you next time on TNN Bricks. Thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe.